Welcome, everyone, to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter, and I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies, which is in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books, and Manuscripts in the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. Once a week, I take a book off of our shelves and show it to you on Zoom. This is informal. It's like a show and tell. I'm not going to lecture you. We're just going to page through, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about the manuscript. Joined with us, that's such a weird thing to say. Also with us is Amy Hutchins, who is my colleague. She's our manuscript cataloging librarian. She will be watching the chat. I will watch the chat. If you have questions or anything to say, go ahead and type them in, and we will address them as we can. Yes, so very informal. Don't be afraid to say whatever. Also, as is often the case, this is not a manuscript I know very well. I also do not read Arabic. And so if you are familiar with this manuscript or with the topic or with the language and you have something to add, please drop it in the chat and let us know, because that is one of the great things about doing this program, is when people more knowledgeable than me can come in and share their knowledge. So this manuscript it's one of our earliest Arabic manuscripts, which is why I selected it. So someone earlier, before I started recording, asked how I picked the manuscript. So in this case, this was one I picked because it's quite early. It's 1194, and it's very early for our collection of Arabic manuscripts. It is written on paper, which is typical for books from the Middle East. So we believe this was written in Baghdad in 1194 on paper, really good paper, actually. You can see it has been chewed a little bit. There's some bookworm damage, which isn't unusual, but it's in really good condition considering the age. I'm only mentioning the paper because in the West, in Europe, a book made at this time would be made on parchment. You're going to see parchment for the most part up until really the advent of the printing press, although paper was around before then as well. But 1194 is very early. Let's see. It is a book about math, and particularly fractions. And that is, it's got 3 sections. So I'll get to that. I'm going to turn back to the article that I shared with you, which is specifically about this manuscript. And let's see. So we're starting on the first page, and what we have here is the title of the work, and the author's name too. So the author is not the scribe, but the author of the text, and that is interesting too. So the author is Abu Bakr al-Hassar, and he was a 12th century Moroccan mathematician. So he was writing in Morocco, which is in northern Africa, just south of Spain. So that's where he was writing in the 12th century. And if you're thinking about dates, so this was written in 1194. And we know that it was written in 1194 because there is a colophon, which I'll show you when we get there at the end of the book. So the scribe actually signed this and put the date. So that's when he was copying it. So al-Hassar wrote this earlier in the 12th century in Morocco, and the text made its way somehow to Baghdad, where it was copied later in the century, which is just sort of interesting because it tells us something about how this text moved, right, across North Africa and then into Iraq, what is now Iraq. All right, so that's interesting. It is one of 5 manuscripts that has this text. So it's not a text that is incredibly well known, but what is interesting is this is the earliest copy. So I think the other copies are more like in the 1400s and 1500s. So quite a bit later than this one. And there are also differences between this manuscript and those manuscripts, which is also sort of expected. All right. And I believe one last thing. He apparently, Alhassar wrote 2 different versions of this text. One of them was shorter, sort of intended for maybe school, like use in a school, as opposed to being used by someone who's out of school. And so that is what I think this copy is. All right. So on this first page, there's a few different things going on. I'm not actually sure what this is. If someone can read, then can read Arabic, can maybe say what that is. Down here, this is, I believe, yes, this is a notice belonging to the books of MB al-H al-Tusi. So this is apparently a pretty well-known Muslim scholar. So this book, according to this notation here, was owned by him. And I'm also going to point out the different scripts that are being used. So the body of the manuscript is written in what's called Naskh script, which is sort of I think of it as like the basic written Middle Eastern script. This is a different script. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's much more upright. It's a different kind of look. This is Nastaliq, which is, you see it often Persian is written in this, using this Arabic script. And then down here, this is sort of interesting. This is, according to this article, this is an Eastern Arabic hand, which has another note about the text. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it better, because this manuscript is about numbers. And so what we have here is, it may look familiar to you, Arabic numerals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And these are the Western. I didn't realize that there were actually different forms of the Arabic numerals, but there are. So these are the Western Arabic numerals. So these are the numerals that I think Al-Hassan would have written originally in the text, because he was writing in Morocco. And these are the numbers, right, they came up to Spain and were written in Spain, and then these are the numbers now that we use in the West. These are the Eastern forms. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They look a little different. 9 looks about the same, but the other ones are quite different. These are the Eastern Arabic numerals, and these are actually the ones that are used in this manuscript. So when we get to where we're looking at some math, these are the numbers that we're going to look. There is actually, I think there's another page a little bit further in that has, let's see, that has them listed out again. Right, so here we go. Here we see them again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they're a little more clear. And here are the Eastern Arabic numerals there. The number in the bottom are Indian, which is today Middle East use. That could be, so Ghazwan points out, he says that these numbers are the Indian, which are today Middle East use. Yes, I think yes, these are the Eastern numbers. So, right. So I don't know, so they came from India, and and I don't know how they were modified in the West to what we use today, but that is interesting. Okay, so we start out with the preface. Oh, let me zoom out again, sorry. Okay. So we're starting with a preface, and then this is the list of the chapters, which seems to be chapters just for the first part of the text. Oh, so Brian is asking, why are there so many ink blotches on the paper? So if what you're looking at are these are not ink blotches. These are holes, because this is paper. It has been chewed upon by bookworms, or like larvae who have chewed around. Anna says hungry curators. Yes. Sometimes you just have to snack. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I usually go around the edges, though. I'm kidding. I've never actually eaten a manuscript. But it's fun to think about. Right. So that's what that is. And there is this, it looks like water damage in the bottom too, which you see. Okay, so this is just a note to myself. So the first section, there are 10 chapters which correspond to other manuscripts. So this is the section that is similar to the other manuscripts. And basically we go from 3, which is where we are here, 3 through 25. So I'll just sort of page through so we can get a sense of this. And if we come back here, so these are the chapter titles. And so I think whenever we see in the text a sort of long, I'm looking for these long letters here. I think this is where maybe another chapter starts. They're short chapters. So here and here, but I'm not entirely certain. There's no rubrication, so there's no like red text. Here's Brian asking me important questions. Does parchment taste different from paper? We should do an experiment and find out. Not on a manuscript. You can buy parchments. You can buy parchment, and so use clean parchment. All right, and now we're getting some things that might look familiar. So here are some of these letters or numbers. Sorry, over here, and there's also, I noticed this on the previous page too. I don't know what this is, but it seems to be, I also saw some sort of down here, 1,000. I don't know if anyone else knows what these are, but it looks like zeros, which is another concept that came from India and was sort of made math a little easier to do. So here's more. You're going to be seeing more and more as we're coming through. And this first section is on fractions. The whole book is on. There's a lot of fractions happening in this book, and by this time you can see with the line between this is how we still write fractions, right? Here. So Anna points out this is a lot of words for math. And yes, it is interesting that there is a whole lot of text, and then you'll have a little bit of math. I think when we think about, or at least when I think about math textbooks, it's usually like lots and lots of formulas and very little writing. And this is a little bit different. And it goes on to say, I suppose that early it was all theory. And I think so. They're sort of figuring out what math is and what we're doing with it and what letters can do. Now I'm going to come over here, because here is, and I think there are more elsewhere, but you can see here someone has written around sort of a interlinear and then into the margin. So someone is coming in later and interacting with this and like leaving a note. And it looks like that might even be Nastaliq, so it's like a slightly different sort of script there. Samuel says, using numerals was a new concept. It made arithmetic much simpler, but it would have been weird to people used to an abacus-style calculator. Yeah. Brian, modern mathematical notation came about in the 17th century. Meanwhile, Euclid describing triangles using poetic language. Yes. So they had the numerals, and they were writing out the math. But I think, yeah, the more sort of advanced mathematical notation, and like the calculus was invented in the 17th century too. Or, you know what? That's probably something else that we invented that was already been invented 1,000 years ago, we being people in the West. Murray says, the spacing of the fractions reminds me of trying to type fractions in early word processing programs. Yes. All right, so I've skipped forward a little bit because now we are at the section, we now have 72 chapters on the multiplication of fractions. And this is like, I think the biggest section of the book, because it's 25, it's folio 25 through 66, and the whole thing is 87 leaves. So there we go. So this is all going to be about multiplying fractions, which if you have ever taken like advanced math, I think my son did this a couple years ago. It's quite a lot. So we're going to, I think, be seeing more and more. So here we are multiplying fractions here. Just very interesting. Samuel says, Western math was held back by Roman numerals. Most definitely. And whoever came around later was very interested here because they're leaving more. We've got more and more notes. Which, you know, this could be another sign that this was intended to be used as a textbook, because someone here was, and here's maybe someone else. Also, it's hard to tell, or maybe it's the same person using a different pen. There's a little more. It looks like they might even be doing a little bit of math of their own there in the back. Anna, I've reused palimpsest. Do you mean for an upcoming Coffee with a Codex? We have some palimpsests in our collection, so I could definitely do that. More notes. Yeah, I'm so impressed with the quality of this paper. I meant to do a little bit in looking up to what this paper could be made of at this, in 12th century in Baghdad. I don't know what the paper would have been made of because it's sort of yellow, but it's not like yellowed and falling apart, which it would be if it was more like 19th century paper made from trees. So maybe some kind of textile. Let's see, we've got some questions. Elizabeth asks, what would they be using for a pen? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if they used quill pens in the East. Could be quill or something like that, I would guess. Or maybe Brian says reed. Amy says reed, so reed pens. Claire says it looks saffron colored on my screen. I think you're talking about the paper. It is quite yellow. It's quite yellow paper, and I don't know if it was originally that color. Like, who knows? I don't know if it was that color or if it was has aged and become more. Although it's all that color, so if it has changed color as it aged, it has done it very uniformly, which might mean that this is the original color. Anna is asking why they favored paper over parchment. I really think that it was a matter of what was easily available to make the material. So it was easier and cheaper for them to make paper than it was to make parchment, I think. This is my understanding, because there are earlier manuscripts that were made with parchment. So they did make manuscripts from parchment, at least in the 8th and maybe 9th century. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Middle East specifically. But then they switched to paper. And in the West, because there was so much being done with animals beyond parchment. I mean, you weren't just killing animals to make parchment, you were killing animals for a lot of other reasons too. And so parchment became part of the process. And it also meant that books were sort of more expensive, I think. There's so much chat. Oh my gosh, I gotta scroll down. Let's see if people are saying smarter things. Yellowish happens with aging regarding the color of the paper. This is Gazwan. Paper is easily available from China. Yeah. So there was probably also import. That might have been actually where they came. Arabic reads right to left. Yes, right. It is right to left. And I'm assuming, because when they had let's go back. The list of numbers are also left to right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know if the math is also, I am not a math person. I would kind of assume it's also right to left, but I don't know. Maybe someone else has answered that. Let's see. There we go. All right, I think we're all caught up. And we're still multiplying. This is like me in the 8th grade. You mean we're still multiplying fractions? Can we stop? Multiplying fractions has come in handy though when I'm baking, so I can't complain. It can be handy. All right, Samuel. Okay, this is super nerdy, but the zeros are only to the right, so it could be. Oh wait, no. Here's zeros to the left, except not now. I didn't do this to prove you wrong. It just happened to be there on the page. So, all right. So here we are. I'm gonna keep going through. This is a very exciting page. There's like a lot happening here. There's some more notation in between the lines. We have a lot of, gosh, people are very interested in this. Elizabeth, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Come by anytime. Oh, here we go. There's a little bit more. I love this is why I love. I love manuscripts for a lot of reasons, but I love seeing how people interacted with them, even when I can't see what they're saying. But like, this page made someone really excited, I just love to see that. Let's see. And this is a long section. Like, this keeps going and going. Here's more notes here. Anna, I just use metric when I can while baking. It's easier than, yeah, that's probably true. And honestly, I probably also use not fractions, but decimals, but that's okay. Oh, I love this. Getting very excited. Here's a great big fraction, if you wanted a great big fraction. It looks like this is being maybe multiplied by some other number. Here's a lot. It's getting really complicated. All right, keep going. And then there's still one more section, and then I still have something else I want to show you. So I'm going to skip ahead. Come on. So we're now on folio 66. Here's 66 here. And these are unnumbered sort of chapters that have been stuck here in the end, and it says they're on the treatment of fractions. So maybe not multiplying, but more on fractions. It's a whole book about fractions. Very exciting. It looks like we've got maybe some more here in the margin. If you can see that, there's like more chewed up bits towards the gutter. They seem to like it there in the gutter. And I think there's less marginal notes. So there's fewer people interacting here. And Brian is pointing out that it is a little bit like the Necronomicon. It's in Arabic. just needs some more geometry. We have some geometry manuscripts actually in Arabic, but nothing as exciting as the Necronomicon, I'm afraid. Let's see. Keep going. Oh, Brian is asking about ruling and marginalia. Okay, so there's not going to be any visible ruling here. So often when we look at Latin manuscripts or other manuscripts from Europe, we look for lines that are drawn in sort of down the sides and under the text, and this is called the ruling. And it's how the scribe was able to keep the text straight. So a couple of years ago, I took a summer course through the Rare Book School on Islamic manuscripts. And the one thing that I remember from that class is that the way that scribes writing Arabic kept the text straight is they actually had frames that were made of wood, and it would have strings sort of put from side to side, so like rows of strings. And you would take the paper, and this is one reason why it would have been useful for them to use paper, because paper is going to be a little bit more pliant than parchment would be in this case. And you would take the paper and push it down onto the frame, and it would leave an imprint of the lines on the paper that would eventually go away, right? So they're sort of just long enough for you to write, and then they're gone. Because I think it was an aesthetic thing, like they valued this sort of very clean page without the ruling. So there is no ruling, but it's not because they didn't have a way to keep the line straight, because obviously they did. It's because they did it in this different kind of way, which is pretty neat. Let's see. Shreve. Oh, Shreve! Thank you. Called a mastar, made with string or thread on cardboard. Paper was rubbed on top of this ruling frame, left indentations on paper. See, I remembered something from your class, so it was great. The whole class was great. I remember other things too, but I do remember that. So now we're getting to the end, yes, and this is where we get to the colophon, and the colophon is where they're not super common. They seem to be more common in Arabic manuscripts. But it's where the scribe sort of signs and sometimes leaves a date in the manuscript. And so this is how we know when it was written, and also the name of the scribe right here. And I started a couple minutes late, so I am going like a minute over, but I wanted to make sure we all saw that. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming and sharing this lovely, interesting book of fractions with me. And we'll be back next week. And then we are taking August off, except for the 14th, when we'll be looking at the Voynich facsimile. So I hope you'll be able to come then. You can just use the same link and password for that if you want to. So this is great, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.